Greetings, Marcus here again. After showing you how to set up your character in adventure mode last time, this time I'm going to continue with starting the game and getting to know the interface and the basic handling. If it were another game, we'd probably be through in 2 minutes, but today I'm just going to explain every conceivable function and menu. And anyone who already knows a bit about Dwarf Fortress knows that the only thing that can follow now is a tsunami of information. You finally got your equipment together, such as it is. Now it's time for action and adventure. In the rush of excitement, you've forgotten where you were going to go. Perhaps some of your friends here have ideas. And so it begins. Most of the time your adventure starts in the basement of a castle or a house. Adventurers here often seem to suffer from sudden amnesia, forgetting where they were headed and needing to ask for directions again. However, as a chosen, your higher power or god or whatever will first introduce itself and tell you to seek out someone to fulfill your destiny, which in this case means getting your first quest. Before we dive into that, let's first get familiar with the adventure mode interface. Just to cover the absolute basics, you move your adventurer, this one right here, with the arrow keys and not WASD, step by step in all 4 cardinal directions. If you have a keypad, you can also move diagonally. I'll be cutting out most of the text pop-ups that would normally appear here to keep things from getting too confusing. Clicking on a spot within your adventurer's line of sight makes him walk a few steps automatically, unless there's danger nearby. You can zoom in and out with control and the mouse wheel. Without control, the mouse wheel changes elevation. You can also move the camera with the middle mouse button. Now let's look at the user interface. The clipboard on the left, or the shortcut key A, opens the message log, where you can review all missed notifications, including messages from your higher power that recently tried to communicate with you. There are ridiculous 4 ways to open your character sheet. You can intuitively click on your fancy portrait. Select the clipboard with what I think is supposed to be a head. Use the right mouse context menu on your character and choose View Yourself, or simply press Z on your keyboard. In my opinion, the clipboard icon is completely pointless now that clicking the portrait also works. If you've played Fortress mode before, the character sheet should look very familiar. I'll display a different save files character sheet here so that you can see a bit more content. With just a few clicks you can check if your character is hungry, thirsty, tired or injured, or if any personal needs are unfulfilled. However, hunger, thirst and fatigue are also displayed above your character's portrait outside of this menu. The character sheet also shows how your adventurer has reacted to recent events. Detailed health information can be found under Health. The Items tab contains your inventory, just like in Fortress mode, though there's also a dedicated inventory menu, which we will get to shortly. Under Skills you can see how experienced you are in various abilities, complete with progress bars. Relations lists every person you currently know. If they have a portrait, they are somewhere nearby. I'll come back to this in a moment. At the very least, your worship deity is listed here as well. The Groups tab displays factions you belong to, including your civilization and religion. The last tab shows your personality traits, values and needs, all of which were set during character creation. Now let's go through the rest of the menus. The icon above your portrait displays your current party, including any animals you have. Right now that's just you. Here you can also see which direction a party member is in case they wander off. From this menu you can take control of adventurers you started the game with, but not those you recruit later. The inventory menu, which can also be accessed with I, is represented by the backpack icon. Here you can interact with the items in your inventory. You can inspect items in detail, drop them, equip or wear them, remove them, store them in bags or other containers, take them out again, eat them, or use them in other ways, like reading a book or throwing it around. Equipping and unequipping isn't as simple as you might think. If you take something off, it doesn't go directly into your backpack. It first ends up in your hand. From there you can decide to put it in your backpack. The same applies the other way around. Remove on a weapon, for example, actually means your adventurer draws it, which is a bit misleading. Items inside containers are slightly indented to indicate they are stored. For example, food in your backpack or water in a water skin. You should also pay attention to your weight burden, which is displayed here. If you're overloaded, you'll see a yellow or red icon above your inventory button. This means you will move slower or even fall over. In a turn-based game, this isn't immediately obvious. Everything else just seems to move faster around you. Like the opposite effect of that energy drink fueled squirrel from over the hedge. You might also get some rather cryptic warning messages indicating slow movement. The small horse icon or the M key for movement opens the movement menu. Here you can adjust your travel speed from creeping to sprinting. The faster you move, the quicker you'll become exhausted and the sooner you'll need food and water. At higher speeds it takes a moment to accelerate. So there's both a starting and a maximum speed. Just keep in mind that you won't reach top speed if you change direction every 2 steps. You also can't reach it if you use mouse clicks to move automatically. It only works when moving step by step with the keyboard. Your speed settings change depending on how you're moving. If you're lying down, there are different crawling speeds. If you're riding a mount, there are different riding speeds. Your current movement type and speed are also displayed to the right of the first buttons. Clicking on this info will also take you to the movement menu, which once again makes a separate button somewhat redundant. The visual stealth indicator below shows how well your adventurer is hidden. This is affected by various factors, including movement speed, whether you're standing or lying down, the line of sight around you, environmental conditions like lighting and weather, enemy sight angles, and whether you're on a mount or not. A good stealth rating, ranging from worst possible to best possible in 9 levels, can help you evade enemies or ambush them. Sneaking, which is a crucial survival tactic in adventure mode, can significantly improve this rating, but I'll get to that in just a few seconds. To finish up this section, swimming has only 2 settings. When possible, makes your character swim whenever the opportunity arises, even if the water isn't deep enough to require it. When necessary, only makes your character step into shallow water without fully diving in. As mentioned earlier, you can find the stealth mode right next to the movement options with the shortcut Shift S for sneak. This mode highlights the vision cones of nearby people and creatures, allowing you to navigate around them without being detected. The best way to maximize your stealth is by moving slowly while lying down. To do this, first lie down and then switch to slow movement speed in the movement options. After a few slow crawling steps, you will see a significant improvement in your visual stealth classification. However, everything around you will appear to move faster. You can recognize that you're crawling by the brown downward pointing arrows beneath your adventurer. If you need to cover greater distances, I highly recommend using the tried and tested upright gait developed over millions of years. Next to the stealth button, you will find the combat options for standard attacks. These are essential default actions for the lazy. Don't worry about them for now, it's easier to explain them during the first fight than in theory. In the middle menu on the far left, you will see a hand icon. This function is not only for picking up items beneath you, but also for lighting campfires. Or to satisfy your inner pyromaniac to light anything else flammable around you. Additionally, you can interact with objects in a way similar to the right-click context menu. For instance, you can topple statues. Hope no one has seen this. The function next to it allows you to search for insects, bugs and other small creatures. It may seem pointless at first, but in a survival situation it can be a useful way to find food. A well-fed adventurer, however, will likely turn up their nose at such a meal. One function to the right, you will find the climbing ability, one of the most useful skills for any self-destructive adventurer. Clicking on the icon or pressing H for hold lets you attempt to grab onto walls or objects and climb them. Your success depends on your climbing skill and whether you have both hands full of rubbish. You should definitely put it away before attempting to climb. To climb a wall, simply click on it or an obstacle and pull yourself up. Keep in mind that you can't hang on indefinitely. Eventually you lose strength and take an unceremonious plunge. This is especially unfortunate if you thought the 2-story high clothing shop would be a bright idea to climb up. If you just want to hang on, for example to avoid falling off a cliff, you can do this manually. But the safest way is simply not to run straight to the edge like a hyperactive squirrel. And if you do find yourself up in the air, remember, going up is harder than going down most of the time. Next to the climbing function, you will find the jumping button, or as I call it, the spontaneous bone fracture button. Clicking on it or pressing J for jump allows you to leap, which can be useful for overcoming obstacles, surprising an enemy, or launching yourself into certain doom. A jump can either lead to a higher ledge or across a gap. Your movement speed plays a key role. Sprinting lets you jump farther, but if you stumble or are overloaded, you might just end up face first in the dirt, just like real life. Jumping is particularly handy for crossing rivers without swimming or for creating distance from an angry troll in battle. But be careful, Blindly jumping can lead to an unfortunate introduction to the ground or worse, in a bed of sharp rocks. Always check where you are landing before you take off. Next to the jumping button, where fewer broken bones occur, you will find the talk to somebody function. Clicking on it or pressing K lets you interact with characters nearby. This is useful for accepting quests, learning rumors, or simply making a small talk before accidentally chopping someone with your axe. When you enter conversation mode, you can shout into the void, hoping someone responds, or even try to talk to your god, hoping on a response as well, though I have had no luck with that so far. Normally you can start a conversation by right-clicking a person and selecting Start New Conversation. The first step offers the optional choice to introduce yourself, which can be polite, or simply a way to make sure people remember the name of the lunatic who burned down an entire tavern. Sometimes they might even greet you back. In the second step, after the possible introduction, the actual conversation begins. For each exchange, you must click the conversation partner again and choose Continue Conversation to proceed. The dialog screen then presents various options. You can ask about rumors or trouble, which is especially useful for finding out where notable figures or dangerous creatures are lurking. Usually with the warning, "Oh, that guy has murdered a lot of people, have fun." Sometimes you may even get a hint about a missing treasure. Certain NPCs allow you to ask for requests, gaining new tasks if you haven't risked your life enough yet. You can also try recruiting companions if you realize you need help. But beware, they are not always the brightest and can be endlessly annoying with their chatter. You can also offer accusations or praise, simply because nothing works as well as alternately yelling at and complimenting someone to gain their respect. Importantly, a character's reaction varies based on who they are and the situation. You will also encounter them very differently if you stand in front of them with your weapon drawn. Someone might be friendly and open, while others might be impatient and draw their weapon after your first sentence. Choose your words wisely, or be prepared to run. Among the usual dialogue options, there's also a unique tool in your adventurer's social arsenal: Assume an identity. This allows you to take on a new personality, useful for espionage, deception, or simply for burning down taverns under a false name. Selecting this option lets you create a completely new identity or assume an existing one if you're already known as someone else. This disguise has real consequences. If your original name is infamous, a new identity can prevent instant recognition by angry city guards. NPCs may treat you differently depending on who you claim to be. If you pretend to be a famous warrior, that might impress people until you flail around in battle like a sack of flour. A false identity can also help with infiltration or gathering information. But be careful, if you're inconsistent or get exposed, things can turn ugly fast. Your identity is safe for later use if you have to come back to it. And you can always return to your true self. But let's be honest, where's the fun in that? Now for a feature that appeals to bards, performers and anyone who loves to be in the center of attention. Have you ever walked into the tavern and thought, what this place needs is an epic ballad about me? Then P for performance is your choice. This function lets you dance, preach, tell stories, recite poetry, play an instrument if you have one and know how, or how to simulate one, or even improvise a poem on the spot. Often you attract people with your performance, but your skill in these areas determines the audience reaction. If you're talented, you might gain fans and followers. If not, well, at least you tried. Either way, people will be talking about you afterward. Right next to the artistic performances, you will find one of the most hands-on functions in the menu, craft or butcher. Clicking on it or press X, well, just because it's X, allows you to craft items or break down animals and sometimes other things into usable parts. Convenient, right? This function has two main applications. First, crafting. Here you can create useful items from raw materials, provided that you have the right resources. The crafting system is quite basic at the moment. You won't be building fortresses out of stone blocks. But if you ever find yourself in the wilderness thinking, a hatchet would be handy right now, you can craft a simple one from natural components. Second, butchering and processing. If you've taken down an animal, you can use this function to carve it up. This provides meat for food, hides for armor, and bones for tools, assuming you have a knife or some other sharp item. You can only butcher fresh enough corpses, and it's probably not the best idea to do this in the middle of a town. The locals might take issue if you start dissecting a yak in their tavern. If you're wondering, can I also people? Well, technically yes, the game won't stop you. Whether you can justify it morally is entirely up to you. Between crafting, butchering and jumping, there's another handy function. Use ability. Clicking it or pressing Shift plus X activates special character abilities. Whether it's an innate gift, a learned technique or a supernatural power that makes you either impressive or downright creepy, like spitting or petting animals that might then follow you around. These are at least the two default abilities that everyone has, if you can even call them that. However, the list varies depending on your character. A turtle, for example, can retreat into its shell. Some abilities need a cooldown after use. Yes, even petting animals. Rumor has it that over time you can gain additional skills, perhaps magic, fire breathing or whatever, which will show up here. But I can't say I've seen them myself yet. Unlike standard attacks, Strike Somebody lets you make targeted attacks against enemies. While normal attacks happen automatically, this function allows you to select a specific body part of your opponent and strike with a chosen weapon or technique. With enough combat experience, you can exploit weak spots for critical hits or disarm opponents. But we'll go into more detail when we get to actual combat. Wrestle Somebody lets you grab enemies directly, literally by the collar, rather than just attacking them with weapons. This technique allows you to grab specific body parts, restrain opponents, or even strip them of their weapons and armor. It can be a highly effective tactic against heavily armored foes, neutralizing them without having to pierce their armor. We'll try it out in real combat later. With Shoot you can use ranged weapons like bows, crossbows or blowguns, provided you have the right ammunition. Without arrows, a bow is just a fancy club. Once activated, you can select a target within range, but we'll cover this in detail in a separate combat section. Yield, hotkey Y, lets you officially throw in the towel, or reconsider if you have already surrendered. This function allows you to give up if a fight seems hopeless. If you surrender, you stop fighting and hope your opponent is merciful. This doesn't always work, especially if you just try to rip off their leader's head. Some enemies accept your surrender, while others see it as an invitation to beat you even more thoroughly. Yield is your last resort if you are in a really bad spot, or if you want to test just how forgiving your foes are. With strap or draw weapon hotkey Q, you can holster or equip your weapon. An undeniable useful action in battle. If you want to draw your weapon, make sure your hands are free, otherwise it won't work. this should be prepared before a fight, because if you have to drop or reorganize things in mid-battle, it's about as pleasant as fumbling for your house key while your neighbor's angry attack dog charges at you. Similarly, you can use this function to put your weapon away. Especially handy if you don't want to look like a raving lunatic while strolling through the town. Trust me, nothing makes NPCs more nervous than someone walking into their homes with a drawn sword. We already covered prone for lying down, but you've probably noticed that I skipped one button on the left side of the menu. That's because we're getting to it now. The book icon represents your quest log and accumulated knowledge. Let's go through the different tabs. Agreements shows active quests or deals you've made with NPCs. The map will indicate where your next mission takes you. Events provides an overview of significant world happenings, like battles, deaths or political riots. If you're wondering whether a certain king is still alive or if a city was recently raided, this is your go-to section. Some events even appear on the map and can lead to new quests. You can pin events and sort them by type or date. People is a different way of displaying noun individuals, also found under relations in your character sheet. They are listed alphabetically or by importance. Sites list notable locations nearby, cities, fortresses, villages, as well as tombs, mysterious caves and other dark places that offer both interesting and dangerous challenges. You can filter for important locations such as your hometown. Groups tracks down factions and organizations, and you can locate them on the map. If you switch to showing important, you'll see groups you're currently part of, including any religious affiliations. Maybe you've joined a secret society without realizing it. Regions displays geographical features like dunes, mountains, forests and rivers. If you've heard in a tavern about something happening in the wastelands, you can check here to find the location. Bestiary shows where you find specific creatures if you're searching for them. Artifacts lists legendary items you found or heard about. If you're searching for a mythical sword, this tab can tell you where it was last seen. And the last tab, Intrigues, contains espionage, conspiracy and criminal activities you've picked up on. If you want to uncover dark plots or get involved in political schemes, this is your section. Mine's empty for now, unfortunately. Now that we've worked through that, only a few elements remain. You're almost there. First, the simple things. In the top right corner you can see the current date. Below that is the status and position of the moon, if it's visible at all. This could be interesting if you happen to be a war creature, for example because you were foolish enough to topple a statue. Next to that you will find wind direction and speed, mostly relevant for projectile trajectories or flying creatures. Then there's the sun position, a general look at the sky for weather conditions and the temperature. Instead of zooming with the control key and the mouse wheel, you can also use the buttons here. Numerical water depths can be crucial hints, and the classic ramp display is still available if you're used to it from the traditional Dwarf Fortress. A new feature is the ability to display tracks. Your tracking skill, Tracker, helps you to spot footprints in the wild. This can be quite useful for locating recently escaped enemies. In the best case, it will also show you the direction and classification of the latest track and which way it is pointing. If you didn't choose an ordinary character, you'll also see a compass in the top left corner, displaying cardinal directions for various locations. For example, SSW means south-southwest, bottom slightly left. You'll also see a QST marker if you have a quest to complete at that location. Depending on your skills, the next nearby tracks might also be displayed below, providing tracking is currently enabled. If you have an active quest, you'll also see its details on the right side of the screen, along with a rough direction to follow. The main menu and various help options are located in the top right corner. Now for the final things. In the bottom right, there's the currently non-existing build menu. To the left of that, sleep or wait allows you to take a nap or simply pass the time, whether your adventurer is tired or just waiting for nightfall to do some shady business. If you choose to sleep, you can set the duration and select a sleeping spot, whether it's a cozy bed in a tavern or the cold ground in the middle of the wilderness. In some houses you might want to ask the owner for permission before staying. Sleeping without a proper bedding results in poorer rest, leading to exhaustion. There's always a risk of being woken up in the middle of the night by robbers or hungry animals, often in a rather unpleasant manner. If you just want to wait instead, you can fast forward time without sleeping. This is useful if you're waiting for a specific moment, such as a planned meeting or an NPC who only appears at certain hours. However, time doesn't pass instantly, it moves turn by turn, so if something happens, you still have a chance to react. You can manually reach all locations on map on foot or by riding an animal. But traveling naturally takes time. While this allows you a lot of exploration, long journeys may overwhelm you with information that isn't immediately relevant. The travel screen helps with this. Let's start at the top. If you can't remember which way east and west were, you will see them displayed on the top left and right corners. Between them, the sun and moon move from east to west in a classic fashion, roughly indicating the time of day. In the bottom left, you will see your current location or region. From here, you can also access your previously introduced quest log. The top right shows interesting buildings nearby, allowing you to quickly locate specific shops. Using keyboard navigation or the mouse, you can cover large distances much faster without distractions. The map zooms in automatically in city areas and out again in open spaces. On the map, major threats are indicated. For example, a red shield for one or more enemies, or what looks to me like a black and white mask for an ambush. Blue circles usually represent friendly travelers who might provide special information. However, I haven't fully figured this out yet, as sometimes blue circles turn into red shields and vice versa. Various houses, huts and caves can also be recognized on the map. In some cases you can only approach to a certain safe distance and must walk the rest manually due to potential conflict. A well-known feature of the travel map is the ability to track footprints, though I've never seen anything show up there myself. Next to that is the weather overlay, which lets you see clouds if any are present. The campfire icon serves the same function as the bed in the regular view, allowing you to wait or sleep. The raccoon icon enables the known stealth mode. The map icon takes you to the world map, where you can explore the world as far as you know it, similar to the map generation view. And finally, with the red X or the hotkey D, you can exit travel mode and return to the normal view. Congratulations! If you've actually made it this far, you should get a medal. This tutorial was really packed with information and is one of the most comprehensive tutorials I've created so far. But hey, Dwarf Fortress doesn't exactly make it easy, and if you dig in, you will be rewarded. If you still have any questions or would like to have a specific area explained in more detail, please let me know in the comments. And if you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. After all, I've almost talked myself insane today, so that you can take some knowledge with you. So, thanks for watching, have fun on your adventures and see you in the next tutorial when we'll be taking on the first quest, fighting and a few more fine-tuning tips. See you then!